When you were 8 years old, summer seemed almost endless. A single week could contain a bicycle ride, a new friend, a scraped knee, 3 adventures, and what felt like an entire lifetime. But now, January becomes March, March becomes July, and suddenly someone is asking what you are doing for Christmas. The strange thing is that the clocks have not changed. A minute still contains 60 seconds. A year still contains 12 months. So why does each year seem to disappear faster than the one before it? And more importantly, if your life feels as though it is accelerating, is there any way to slow it down? The answer begins with a simple fact. Your brain does not experience time directly. It constructs it. Your eyes detect light. Your ears detect vibrations. Your skin detects pressure and temperature. But your body does not contain a special organ that detects time. There is no tiny clock hidden inside your brain counting every second with perfect accuracy. Instead, your sense of time is assembled from several different signals: attention, emotion, physical state, expectations, and memory. That is why the same 5 minutes can feel completely different. 5 minutes spent waiting for an important message can feel painfully long. 5 minutes spent watching something fascinating can disappear before you notice them. And 5 minutes during a frightening experience may seem stretched, almost as if the world has entered slow motion. The clock measures all 3 periods equally. Your brain does not. It is not really asking how many seconds have passed. It is asking how much happened, how closely was I paying attention, and how much of this should I remember. That difference is the key to understanding why childhood felt so long. There is a popular explanation that sounds almost mathematical. When you are 5, 1 year represents 20% of your entire life. When you are 50, 1 year represents only 2%. From this perspective, every new year becomes a smaller fraction of everything you have experienced. Imagine looking back from the top of a staircase. The first few steps appear large and separate, but the farther the staircase extends, the more the distant steps seem compressed together. This idea may explain part of the feeling. A birthday at age 6 separates 2 completely different worlds. At 5, you may not even attend school. At 6, you have teachers, classmates, schedules, and new responsibilities. But the difference between age 36 and 37 may be much less obvious. Still, the fraction explanation cannot be the complete answer. Your brain does not normally calculate percentages before deciding how long a Tuesday felt, and people of the same age can experience the same year very differently. To understand that, we have to separate 2 kinds of time that feel similar but behave in opposite ways. Think about a boring afternoon. While you are living through it, the minutes crawl. You check the clock, wait, check it again, and somehow only 3 minutes have passed. But several months later, that afternoon has almost disappeared from your memory. Now imagine a busy holiday in an unfamiliar city. While it is happening, the day flies past. You are walking, looking around, finding new places and solving small problems. There is barely enough time to notice time, but when you remember the trip, it seems long and full. This is the strange time paradox. An empty period can feel long while you experience it, but short when you remember it. A fascinating period can feel short while you experience it, but long when you remember it. When people say that childhood felt longer, they are usually not remembering the speed of each individual afternoon. They are looking backward. And when you look backward, your brain does not measure time by counting seconds. It estimates time from the number of changes and memories stored inside it. For a child, the world is filled with first experiences. The first day of school, the first sleepover, the first time getting lost in a shop, the first time seeing the ocean, the first time being allowed to cross a road alone. Even ordinary places are unfamiliar. A child entering a classroom notices the faces, the smell, the color of the walls, the sound of the chairs, and the location of the door. The brain must pay attention because it does not yet know which details are important. Novelty is information, and information gives the brain more landmarks from which to construct a memory. Adults are different. After seeing hundreds of classrooms, offices, supermarkets, and roads, the brain becomes better at predicting what will happen. That ability is extremely useful. Without it, every normal morning would require enormous mental effort. But prediction has a hidden cost. When reality matches the brain's expectations, fewer details need to be recorded. The experience is processed efficiently, placed into a familiar category, and largely forgotten. You did not lose the time. Your brain simply decided that it did not need to save all of it. Consider a normal working week. You wake up at approximately the same time. You follow the same route. You see the same buildings. You perform similar tasks. Then you return home and look at the same screens. On Monday, the week may appear long, but on Friday, the 5 days can collapse into one general memory. I worked this week. Now repeat that pattern 40 or 50 times. When you look back at the year, your brain finds surprisingly few unique landmarks. The routine was real. Every day lasted 24 hours, but many days were similar enough to be stored together. It is like recording a video and then removing every frame that looks almost identical to the frame before it. The original event may have lasted hours, but the compressed file becomes very small. This is why life can feel busy and empty at the same time. You may perform hundreds of tasks, answer messages, and solve problems all day. But if those activities resemble yesterday's activities, they do not necessarily create distinct memories. Busyness fills your schedule. Difference fills your memory. Memory explains why previous years appear compressed, but attention changes how quickly time feels right now. Imagine waiting alone in an empty room with no phone. You begin noticing every second because there is almost nothing else competing for your attention. Now imagine playing a game that is difficult enough to challenge you but not difficult enough to frustrate you. Your attention becomes absorbed in the activity. You stop monitoring the clock. An hour disappears. Time seems slow when attention is directed toward time itself. It seems fast when attention is directed toward something else. Adult life contains many attention traps. Deadlines, notifications, conversations, videos, and endless small decisions compete for mental space. We are constantly occupied, but rarely stop long enough to notice the transition from one day to the next. Then something interrupts the routine. A birthday, a photograph, or the end of another year, and we suddenly see how much time has passed. The acceleration was not noticed second by second. It is discovered afterward. There is another reason time refuses to behave consistently: emotion. During a frightening event, a few seconds can seem much longer. This does not necessarily mean your brain begins processing the world like a high-speed camera. Instead, fear increases attention and strengthens the recording of important details. Later, the memory contains more information than an ordinary moment of the same length. Because the memory is dense, the event feels as though it must have lasted longer. Positive excitement can also change time. A long-awaited holiday may race past while you are enjoying it, but afterward, its unusual places and events give it a large presence in memory. Stress can produce the opposite pattern. A difficult month may feel endless in the moment, yet later become a blurry block containing little except the feeling of being overwhelmed. So there is no single switch controlling subjective time. Attention, novelty, memory, and emotion interact, but they all point toward the same conclusion. The amount of life on the clock is not the same as the amount of life your brain preserves. You cannot stop physical time, and turning every day into an extreme adventure would be exhausting, expensive, and probably dangerous. But you can create more mental landmarks. The first method is novelty. Take a different route. Cook something unfamiliar. Visit a place in your own town that you have never entered. Learn a skill badly enough that you must concentrate. The event does not need to be dramatic. It only needs to interrupt prediction. The second method is attention. If you perform a new activity while constantly checking your phone, your brain may record very little of it. Novelty opens the door, but attention allows the memory to enter. The third method is reflection. At the end of each day, try to recall one specific moment that made the day different from the previous one. Write a single sentence. Take one intentional photograph. Tell someone what happened. You are giving the day a label so it does not disappear into a general category called normal life. And finally, Divide the year into smaller chapters. A child's life is naturally separated by school terms, holidays, birthdays, and new stages. Adult life often becomes one continuous stretch of work. Personal projects, seasonal rituals, and planned experiences can restore those boundaries. Think again about those endless childhood summers. They were not actually longer. Children also became bored. They waited for school to end, waited for birthdays, and repeatedly asked whether a journey was nearly over. But childhood produced an extraordinary number of changes. The world was still unfamiliar, so the brain paid attention. As adults, we become better at navigating life. We recognize patterns, automate repeated actions, and stop recording details that seem unimportant. That efficiency helps us function. But when too many days become predictable, memory compresses them, and from the future, they appear to have vanished. Time is not accelerating. Your brain is becoming more efficient at removing repetition. So if the years appear to be moving too quickly, the answer is not to watch the clock more closely. Watching time usually makes individual minutes feel longer, not life itself. Instead, give your brain something worth recording. Change one familiar pattern. Notice one ordinary detail. Create one memory that could not belong to any other day. You cannot add more hours to a year, but you may be able to stop those hours from disappearing without a trace. And perhaps a long life is not simply a life containing many years. Perhaps it is a life containing many moments that the mind chose to keep.